Hello again, everyone. Now that you have had the chance to learn more about our owl limpet monitoring program, I actually want your help to virtually collect data at the low-traffic Little Treasure Cove site at the north end of the park. I have video footage of me there conducting an owl limpet survey and measuring our owl limpets, but I need your help to measure and record all of that data. So first, let's go over our data collection protocols so that you can help me collect some data today. Like you learned about earlier, we regularly collect data at our high traffic site by the Historic District and the low traffic site in the protected Little Treasure Cove. For our data to provide a useful comparison between those two sites, we need to follow the exact same protocol every time. So the first thing we do to set up our transects is we basically set up a large rectangular area on the rocks to designate the area where we want to count the owl limpets each time. The transect looks something like this, with transect tapes stretching all the way down to the water. So we count and measure every owl limpet inside this big rectangle you see here. It is marked with bolts on the rock, and we lay transect tapes, which are like a large measuring tape, on the rock between these bolts in order to mark our search area so we can measure the same area every single time. Once we have our search area, it's time to look for the owl limpets themselves. So they look something like this. They're usually some of the largest limpets in the tide pools, and their identifying feature is their forward apex. So instead of being volcano-shaped with a point in the middle, the high point is really close to the front of the limpet and it slopes down from there. So this is what they'll look like on the rocks. Once we find an owl limpet, we want to measure the size with calipers. So we can use these to measure the size of something that is inside these little arms here. So when it's closed, you can see the little tick mark under the 0 lines up with the 0 on the ruler here. So the size inside is 0. If I start opening it up to about 10, the 10 millimeter mark on the ruler, that means the length inside here is 10 millimeters. So this is how we'll measure owl limpets, is we'll open them up to the size of the limpet and record what's under the 0 tick mark. We also always want to round up to the nearest whole number. So let's practice with a picture. Here is our calipers with an owl limpet inside of those arms. Go ahead and look for the tick mark under the 0 at the top and see where it lines up to the tick marks on the ruler. And don't forget to round up to a whole number. All right, let's reveal our answer. It is just over 38, so we'll call it 39 millimeters. So now comes the really important part that I need your help with. When I hold the calipers up to an owl limpet, you can read the size off of the calipers and then record it in your notebook or on a blank piece of paper. So let's start by setting up a data sheet. So make sure you have your notebook, a piece of paper, or something to write with. You can go ahead and pause if you need to grab it. All right, so once you have your blank page, you're going to set up a data sheet that looks like this. Right at the top, Crystal Cove Owl Limpet Survey. Under that, you're going to write the site. So today we're going to collect data at Little Treasure Cove, which is the low impact site. Underneath that, you can write the date. So put whatever today's date is for you that you are watching this and recording data. Next, we're going to make a really simple table with just 2 columns. So we want the size in millimeter. That's what we measure with the calipers. And then the next column is the number of owl limpets. So in this column, we'll tally up how many owl limpets we find at each size. So for example, with the last example we looked at, you would write 39 in the size column and 1 tally mark in the number column. You'll keep adding sizes and tally marks as you find and measure our owl limpets on your data sheet. All right, once you have that set up, let's head out and measure some owl limpets. Be ready to help me to record that data on your data sheet. All right, everyone, I am now down in the tide pools where our owl limpet survey is going to take place, and I want your help today. So you can probably see the transect tapes laid out behind me that are basically just really long measuring tapes. And those are designating exactly where we're going to measure owl limpets today. So we're going to find every single owl limpet within this area, measure it, and record it on our data sheet. And I'm going to actually have your help to do that. So hopefully, like we talked about up above, we got our data sheet set up to help record our owl limpets. So what we're going to do is measure each one that we can find and then tally it on our data sheet. So Eric, come on over. We found It's like 3 owl limpets I can already see right in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my calipers here, open them up, and try to measure from end to end on this owl limpet. It can be sometimes kind of tricky in the rocks. Hold on, I'm gonna get a different angle. Okay, so then with our calipers, we're measuring, see where this 0 is at the top? That little tick mark, we wanna see where that lines up to the millimeters up top. So right now, it looks like it's just a little bit above 35, so we're gonna go ahead and round that to 36. So then what I'm gonna do is on my data sheet, I'm gonna write 36, because I found an owl limpet that was 36 millimeters, and then add a little tally mark. If I find any other owl limpets that are 36 millimeters, I can add another tally mark. Or if I find a different size, I'll go ahead and write that in here. So now let's go ahead and measure the other one here. Same as before. I'm gonna go end to end with my calipers. And then you're gonna read out from that 0 mark what tick mark it's going towards, and you can round up. So I'll give you a moment to look at that. Write that down in your data sheet. If it's the same size, you add another tick mark. If it's a different size, you can write that down as well. The other thing is, once we've measured them, we're gonna use a marker. It's just a grease pen. It washes off when the tide comes in, but that lets me know that we measured it already. So I'll go ahead and do that for this one too, since you just measured that. Now let's do this other one here. Get that in there, end to end. And again, where that 0 mark, the tally comes straight down. Go ahead and write that on your data sheet. Cool. So those are 3 really close together. Let's keep looking for more, Eric. Scan around our rock. Oh, there's a big one over here. So here's another big owl limpet. We can tell it's an owl limpet because this really kind of point at the front. But you can see it's got a bunch of barnacles on it, which is really cool. But let's see how big it is. Okay, end to end. And then let's look at our calipers and go ahead and write that measurement down on your data sheet and add a little tick mark. And then I can already see another one right in here. So let's go ahead, measure end to end. Some of these are a little tricky to get in there, but I'll do the best I can to estimate end to end. Again, where that 0 mark comes down, and go ahead and add it to your data sheet. And then let's see, there's more over this way. Tons of owl limpets, you guys. All right. Calipers. This one's got, even has other owl limpets on it, I think. That's really cool. They're little friends. And then go ahead and again record with that little 1 mark, which tick mark it is. Awesome. Look at this little one hiding in the rock here. So we've got another one to measure. Okay, where that 0 mark reaches. Go ahead and record that on your data sheet. I can see the biggest of all that I've seen today right over here, Eric. If you want to give us another look, you can see kind of next to my hand how big this one is. Let's see. I definitely think it'll be bigger than the other ones we've gotten. Again, where that 0 mark goes. And then go ahead and record that on your data sheet. We've got a few tucked in here that you may have noticed too. We don't want to miss the ones that are really tucked away. End to end, as best as I can. Record where the 0 mark hits our millimeters there. All right. Let's walk a little further down in our tide pools here. Oh, here's a really cool one. This one has some algae on top of it. So this one has stuff growing on it, but there is an owl limpet hidden in there. Again, you can see the really sharp front. Okay, where the 0 mark hits here, make sure to record that on your data sheet. And then I'm gonna check this little one here and see how big it is. But as you may remember, we're not gonna record one smaller than 25 millimeters. So let's see where my 0 mark hits. Not quite, it's a little bit short. So this one is too small to count just yet. That helps us make sure that we're counting only owl limpets, since owl limpets are really big. But as you may see, we got a nice big one in here too. So let's get all the way in there. All right. And then go ahead and again, record where the 0 mark hits on the calipers and record that on your data sheet. All right. And let's see. I've got another little one right here. Eric, let's take a look and see if this one's big enough. All right, remember it's where the 0 is hitting. So record that on your data sheet. If it is over 25. All right, so we moved a little farther down in the type holes, and I can see a bunch more owl limpets in here. So we're gonna make some more measurements together. So let's start with this big one that I spotted right here. So I'll get my calipers from end to end, and then where the 0 mark is hitting, go ahead and record that on your data sheet. And then I can see more up this way. There's one all the way down in here. Let's see if we can get over to it, Eric. Sweet. One right there. Let's see where that tick mark falls. Record that on your data sheet. There's already another one right in here too. Some of these are a little awkward positions. I'll try to get in there. There we go. And then where that 0 mark is, record that on your data sheet. We've got another one all the way back up here. Again, go ahead and record the size on your data sheet. And then there's another one down in here. Okay. Record where that 0 mark is on your data sheet. All right. All right, so together we're all taking on this transect, and you've been helping us record all of these owl limpets in here that we now have marked. But as you can see around the area, we also have some students from UCI helping us collect data, both master's students and undergrads. So we'll hopefully find all of the owl limpets in this whole area, because there are a ton of them. So thank you for helping us. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for helping to collect and record data today. And now we want you to send us your data. So we have a Google form here on the Owl Limpet Environmental Challenge page that you can use to enter the data that you wrote down and share it back with us so we can add it to our larger data set. After that, the next step will be to analyze the data from both sites to see if you can find any differences between them. Thank you again, and we really look forward to seeing what you find.